So I was on Facebook the other day, and in one of these girls groups, this lady is going through getting ready to sell her house, and she's interviewed 2 realtors, and so she did like a pros and cons.
Okay.
So I have the picture of her pros and cons for each one, and then like who would you pick and why?
All right. So let's go down the list.
Realtor 1 is Alexis. Her social media is average. She gives a free inspection pre-list, a free deep cleaning, and then free repairs under $500. It comes with drone footage, a home warranty. Her commission is 3%, but very negotiable. Her knowledge when she talked to her on the phone was like an 8 out of 10, and in person was more like a 6 out of 10.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Her goal is to help you net as much as possible. And she also provides like a detailed floor plan on the listing. And her vendors that she uses are all okay to take payment after closing.
Okay. Interesting.
She also owns a property management company and has staging furniture available. She's open to buyer's strategic point of view, and I'm not sure what that means. She has 4 years experience. She wanted to list by Halloween. She's not local. It's a 90-day contract listing that does expire. And Realtor 2, Amy. Her social media, 8 out of 10. She considers herself the open house queen. She offered to view the home before the purchase. I don't really understand what that means either.
Before they would list it, or?
It says offered to view home for purchase. Oh, maybe for her to buy it.
She might buy it, yes.
Yeah. As is selling opportunity, which would make sense. 3% that might be negotiable. Her knowledge on the call was like 3 out of 10, but in person was like 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Her goal is to sell your house as fast as possible for as much as possible. Her husband helps with minor repairs. She only has a year experience as a realtor. She was very firm on a 2.5% buyer's commission rate. She likes to move fast, but will wait on the right offer. She is local, and she has other listings in the area. And there is no defined contract expiration date. And she was very direct and forward.
So the person who was interviewing these agents, their gut feeling was one versus the other. Did they say which way they went, or?
No, she kind of put it out like, what do you think?
What do you think?
99% of the comments said go with Amy for one reason. Do you know which reason?
That she's local.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said that is like 1,000 times better than 4 years experience.
Yeah.
Or all of the other extra stuff.
Right.
And so I will say that this specific lady said that she lives in a small rural town, which may be a little different. Local might mean, maybe somebody is listing, like, say here in Xenia, but they live in Dayton.
Right.
It's like, would you consider them local?
Right. So, our Miami Valley, the Dayton region is kind of unique in that we have 20 communities that really fall under Dayton market.
Yeah.
So I think as long as you are familiar with and or know those communities, you're from the Dayton area, you're a local agent. I think normally what the difference is say you contacted somebody and they were a Columbus-based realtor. They're not going to be local to our market, and the Dayton market versus the Columbus or even the Dayton versus Cincinnati markets are so different. Our MLSs are different, the process is different, the contracts are different, and for that reason, that would make a difference. So local would be the area directly that you are. I would say that would give definite credence over experience in any way.
Yeah.
And I'm not the person who knocks a newcomer into the business because they may bring skills and a new perspective even to the market from a different set of skills that they're bringing forward. So just because they've been in the business for 1 year doesn't mean that they're not worth the effort, right? Because those other things, like you said, their social media presence, the way she engaged in person was higher rated for the individual that was interviewing them. So I wouldn't say that that's necessarily what knocks you, but you definitely want to know the local market that you're dealing with.
So I know you've had listings in Cincinnati. How is it different from Dayton?
It's very different in the Cincinnati MLS, as an example, and their contract is different than Dayton. Dayton and Cincinnati had a joined purchase contract, but the process of listing a home in Cincinnati is different than the process of listing a home in Dayton. So in Cincinnati, they require all the documentation and the paperwork that you do up front is submitted into the MLS, and then the criteria, they break down their areas. They have assigned areas that is a numerical, alphanumerical code. And for somebody who isn't familiar with that, what does A28 mean? Well, I don't know. I mean, if you tell me you're looking for Walnut Hills, I know where to take you in Dayton, right? But if you told me, oh, A28 in Cincinnati, I have to look at that area to even know, is that an area that I'm familiar with?
Gotcha.
And so those are differences than what we deal with in our market. But Cincinnati is also larger in land size, which that community base is so varied from over the Rhine to into where you cross over and you're in Newport, different area, right? There's so many market changes that are different and distinct to Cincinnati that a Dayton realtor, if you don't go down there and you don't have any experience, it's probably not what you should be crossing over to do.
So is like Middletown, Cincinnati, or Dayton?
It can be either or. So there's a small MLS that can handle it, but a lot of the agents that are in Hamilton, Middletown, in those communities will either fall into Cincinnati or Dayton, or they will do both.
Okay.
So you can do that.
Oh. So going through these two realtors' pitches, what are some of the things that stood out to you, and what were you like, ooh, red flag?
Yeah. I mean, the social media presence in this day and age, it's all about, getting as much information out there to the consumers that are looking. And as a person who's looking for a home, I'm going to be all over Pinterest and TikTok and Facebook, and I'm looking on Zillow, I'm looking on Realtor.com and all of those sites, and I want to know. So to me, as we had our media guy come in and talk, it's all about the quality of the pictures. I want to see a video. I want to know that this person is actually doing this marketing out there.
Yeah, I found a $1 million plus listing in the Dayton area that you could tell the pictures were done with an iPhone or with a smartphone.
Yeah.
They were dark.
Yes.
And I showed my husband, and he was like, well, I mean, maybe it was just like bad lighting. And I was like, no, look at the difference.
Yeah.
And I showed him my listing. There was a $200,000 listing, and this one's $1 million listing. And you couldn't spare the expense for a professional photographer.
Right.
And the house hasn't sold, and it's been on the market for a while, which I know that's probably price, but it's all presentation too.
Absolutely. And I'm a big proponent of doing the things professionally that sets you apart on the listing. Yes, it means that it costs me money as the realtor out of pocket up front. I thought it was interesting that the first agent indicated that the vendors will charge after closing. When I have the photographer come out or my videographer or any of these people, I'm paying out of pocket for those events out of my money. That's out of my budget for your house, the advertising that we're going to do. So when I get paid, I'm compensating myself for those expenses. If they're charging the client directly and able to get that negotiated to pay after closing, that's an interesting concept, and I would be wanting to know those details. First of all, the cost then is directly on the seller. So if the agent is negotiating their commission, but they're also telling the seller that they have these out-of-pocket expenses, even if it is at the closing table, why isn't that included in what you're doing for me as the realtor, which has been pretty normal, right?
Yeah.
So if normally realtors cover that advertising expense and the cost of getting your marketing up and running, well, now if we start taking that out of the equation, because everything has changed, and now we're negotiating about buyer broker agreements and all of this, I think it's very very easy to get lost in those details as a consumer and not realize, well, this means I'm out of pocket. This means I'm getting more for my money. What is really apples to apples, the comparison that I need to make. So if one agent says one item and the other agent doesn't stipulate that, then that is a talking point you want to go back for clarification. So let me understand. That means that my marketing expense I'm paying for out of pocket, even if it's done at closing, versus that's included in your cost as the commission that I'm paying you as a realtor. I just want to be clear. And then you get that answer from agent 1, and then you go back and you ask agent 2, hey, you didn't say anything about the marketing cost or whether or not that was due up front or at the closing. So I just want to make sure, is there additional cost to that commission that you're earning when we sell the house? And then you got an apples to apples comparison.
Okay. What is your thought on like the free inspection pre-list and the free deep cleaning and the free repairs under $500, like all of those extras?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds nice. First of all, who's doing the inspection, right? Because if it's not in our area, they have to be licensed, certified, and insured in order to do that. Now, it's a pre-inspection, and that means that it can't really be used by the buyer, not likely to be used by the buyer. The buyer is going to want to do their own inspection and know who they have coming in there to tell them. But it is a good idea. If you go into a home and you're like, well, how long have you lived here? 30 years? Okay, and have you done any maintenance? No, I don't remember. My husband took care of all that. Or whatever the answer is. As an agent, you're just trying to determine, do we need to adjust the price because there's going to be some maintenance items that have been not taken care of? The buyer is going to come in, they're going to have an inspection, they're going to find all of these issues that need to be resolved, or just be ahead of it and say, if it's less than $500 to fix it, rather than have it come up as an inspection issue, we're going to just go ahead and take care of it. And again, if she's saying that she does this free of charge or as part of her real estate commission, then I think that needs to be very clearly outlined, because we know inspectors cost anywhere from $350 to $700 depending on the inspection that you're doing in the area, right? The size of the home. Mm-hmm. But then you also have repairs. So if she's not charging for the marketing, maybe she's allocated that these are things that I charge, that I'm covering up front, and that would set her apart from somebody else. And the same is true with the house cleaning. Yes, I love the idea of having a clean house when you come in. But is that a reality that is going to be something that's provided by someone that can come into the home safely and do the things that need to be done?
Mm-hmm. So basically what this girl kind of like boiled him down to is the first one is the value of the extras versus her negative would be like her lack of direction. Mm-hmm. And then the second girl was her knowledge and advice versus her focus on speed. Because she said that, she wants to get it sold quickly, but she would wait to get the right contract.
Right.
So which one would you pick?
I think I would lean towards the second one, just simply because of it seems to be more straightforward with what is common, right? Mm-hmm. And again, there goes a long way to that in-person communication that takes place. If you are getting a better vibe from somebody when you talk to them in person, that's going to supersede talking to somebody on the phone and getting a better vibe from that, because now your interactions personally are there. Your communication style is matching better. That's going to work better through the process for you.
Yeah, so that's funny that you mentioned vibe, because she said her vibe on the second one was that she was confident and direct, and that the first one was more, her vibe was relationship driven. Mm-hmm. So, I would go with the second one too.
Yeah.
Even though, she was pretty firm on the commission, and
because she knows her value. She knows what she's bringing to the table.
Yeah.
And, yes, commission is negotiable. We all have this firm understanding of this now, thanks to everything that's gone on.
Right.
But the reality is that when you come into the situation and you see maybe the condition of the home, what the current market is going on, the outlay that you're going to have in order to get this marketed correctly and appropriately, and you aren't able to be a discount at that point. So, hey, this is my cost. This is what it is. You want to relay that certainly in a confident manner, because here's the thing I would say, especially on a listing presentation, if I'm so quick to cut away my own cost, my own money, then what's going to happen when we go to negotiate a contract for you as the seller?
Right.
I'm going to probably say, oh, well, you can throw that in there. Oh, you can do that. Let's discount it. Let's do a price reduction. Because if I whittle away my money, it's easier to whittle away your money. And that's just an easy thing that in the realtor profession, we would say, know your value, know your worth. And people pay for what benefits they get out of it. And if you've got confidence, that's going to go a long way, especially when it comes to negotiating. Here's the details of the contract. It's not always just about the purchase price, but the terms of that contract that are important to you. And I want to make sure that I represent that well. And so you want my expertise to make sure we're going to get that, then, this is what it's going to cost for that to happen.
Yeah.
Now, if we get to the table and, God forbid, things happen, chaos breaks out, and there is something, and last minute, the fridge goes out, and this fridge was absolutely the deal breaker for the buyer coming in. I've been the realtor who's thrown in money at the table in order to make a deal happen. But it is definitely a case-by-case situation. And again, based on that relationship that's developed, the communication, I understand what your situation is. You understand mine. We understand what the buyer is dealing with. We still want to make the deal happen.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is kind of cool about just seeing this comparison is, interview, if you have a house to list, interview like multiple realtors so that you see everybody's style or what they bring to the table or how they would go about selling.
Right. And a lot of times, if you're lucky and you get a referral from a past client, I get referrals all the time from past clients. That's because I did a service for them that they feel worthy enough to pass along my information. You're less likely to have to do that research and interview multiples if you've got somebody that you know and trust who's giving you a name of somebody they recommend.
Yeah.
So that does help people. But if you're just Googling, searching, and you're checking online and all these names are coming up there, definitely do your due diligence, because not all of us are the same.
Yeah.
And we don't all act and work the same way. Here's what comparison I would also give is, if you call me on my cell phone and my message tells you it's 1928 or something ridiculous, like it's so outdated and it hasn't been updated, or it says my office hours are Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. If you're calling outside of those hours, leave a message and my assistant will get back to you. Is that what you want as a client who's coming in?
You and I have done deals at like 10 o'clock at night before.
Yes. We have. And we've texted each other well past midnight in some cases. So it's like, I don't have a 9 to 5. Yes, for meetings, for certain things, but my schedule has to reflect what my clients are going to need. And I think that's an important part of this as well, is making sure the availability is there as well as the communication style. Those, I think, are probably as important as what's it going to cost me and what do I get for it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today on the Realty Podcast. If you enjoyed the knowledge and entertainment today, please subscribe and share with your friends. We will be embarking on a journey that bridges the gap between realtors and clients, uncovering the heart and tea of real estate.